make this possible. Want to welcome everybody, and I'm thrilled to be able to celebrate Golden Goblinmas, or whatever we end up calling it. But basically, it's about a month and a half out till the release date of The Golden Goblin. Reminder that this is a standalone novel and a new entry point into the series. It is a straight up adventure novel featuring Tyndall and Rondell, and it concerns a quest to find someone who's missing. Anybody who has read the blurb over on Kindle or Audible for the pre-order, and if you haven't pre-ordered, I encourage you to do that. But anybody who's read the blurb knows that the book starts with Lelastian is missing, and that's really the central focus of the quest in The Golden Goblin. And I will be happy to discuss things around the book that won't actually spoil the book, I hope, and entertain any other questions that you might have about the series in general, and life in general. So by all means, Dave, if you want to start off with the first series. Oh, a couple of quick announcements, actually. We have been discussing, the Garden Society and Podium and myself, a number of other great promotional opportunities for The Golden Goblin and eventually The Talon and the Flame. One of which I want to announce, although we don't have firm dates or other information quite yet. We're going to be doing essentially a fan story contest, and to lay out the basic premise of it. I'd like to see submissions about 5,000 words, set in the Spellmonger universe, of course, and set preferably between Spellmonger and Necromancer, or through Necromancer, the first 10 books. I'm very interested. I've had a number of you reach out to me and ask me for advice. And one of my biggest pieces of advice to anybody who's an aspiring writer is to write. This is an opportunity for y'all to get your stuff in front of me and make me pay attention. I probably will have a small cadre of assistants helping me sort through. And this is towards eventually doing, hopefully sometime next year, doing essentially a fan anthology, in which I will contribute, and I will pick the best submissions from everybody, and include them in a Spellmonger fan anthology, which I'm still working out the details about how complicated that's going to be. But that being said, I'm really excited about the possibility, and I invite you to go ahead and start brainstorming your ideas. And I'll be posting a more formal written sort of list of requirements and expectations later.
If I may, I know I don't want to
yes,
interrupt
please.
too much here. We had talked a while ago about some of the rules. Would you be all right if I shared what we do have, as you have those very
Please do.
basic tentative ones? All right. In our VC, I'm going to post them, and I'm just going to read them off to make sure that he's still good with them. 5,000 word short fiction, open format, arcana, story, letter, something about the series in general, perhaps a character. There will be first, second, and third honorable mentions. The first 10 novels would be the timeline. Please do it before. Now I've lost track of which one came first. Thaumaturge, thank you. To me, book 12 was the better one. Don't kill off a main character or impact them too majorly. And of course, we will have no secret entries from Mage Lord. I'm watching you, Dave. I know you. You will sit there calmly. All right. Are these still accurate?
Yes, they are. They are. And I will figure out the closing date. It'll probably be this fall at some point, which should give everyone plenty of an opportunity to come up with an idea, develop it, and then submit it.
I know that we will have an email address later for these to be submitted to. Right. I know we don't have that together yet, but just letting people know.
And in terms of prizes, the winners will all receive a Spellmonger prize package, including autographed copies, etc. Perhaps most importantly, the first place winner will get 1 solid hour with me online to ask me any question about writing my series, the horrible things that happened in my childhood, whatever you want. But second place winner will get half an hour, and third place winner will get 15 minutes. An honorable mention will get 10 minutes. So, and I like to record these because a lot of times my fans ask me some really insightful questions, the answers to which I think will help other people who are aspiring writers. I've kind of learned a lot. Still got plenty to learn. Don't get me wrong, but I've learned a lot along the way, and I'd love to be able to share that with another generation of writers.
Sounds really exciting. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit excited. But yeah, no, I think one of the questions that keeps popping up around the community is what's the book release order? When are we getting the next main series? And what's happening with that? Yeah.
Right. I am still waiting on a final release date for the Talon and the Flame. So the next release will be the Golden Goblin on July 15th. Talon and the Flame is still in production, but it should be wrapping up within the next several weeks. And then it goes into post-production, and at that point they can establish exactly when release date should be. In terms of Sea Mage, I saw in the chat someone was asking about that. My date is for turning it into Podium is October 1st, which means that usually takes them about 2 to 3 months to do production and another 6 weeks or so for post-production. So it should be towards the beginning of next year that Sea Mage will be coming out. And then Theurge will actually be coming out hot on the heels of that, assuming I finish up to hit my deadline in the spring for that. We should get 2 main series novels next year with no real trouble with that.
Sounds
so that's as explicit a calendar as I have at the moment.
No worries. And sorry, what was happening? So there's obviously another novel coming out this year. Your venture into a romantasy. What's happening with the Dara story?
Little background. Dara, as most people know, was the heroine of my Hawkmaiden trilogy, which is a young adult coming of age trilogy, in which we follow her from when she's about 12, 13 years old to young adulthood, and see a lot of the events that play out in Mage Lord and beyond through Dara's eyes and through her perspective. This is kind of a continuation of that, but Dara's grown up now, and she is at a point in her life where she's got to make some decisions about her life, specifically romantic decisions. And the book is basically showing how she does that and how complicated that could be for a young woman who is extremely talented, extremely intelligent, incredibly wealthy, and really has a hard time talking with boys. So it's a fun book. I'm really excited about it. It's got some old characters you may have forgotten about that pop up. It's got a couple of new characters, and in general, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Whether it will be, a major contender for for critical acclaim in the romantasy community, I can't really tell you. I did not read any other romantasies before I wrote the book. I briefly glanced at a couple of romantasies after I wrote the book. I'm hoping it fares very well in competition with other books in that particular subgenre. And if you have any specific questions about Talon and the Flame, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are you still planning to go to
I think if you,
DragonCon, Terry?
What was that, Craig?
So are you still planning to go to DragonCon?
Yes, I am. DragonCon is definitely on my schedule. Heroes is definitely on my schedule. I'm happy to fill up other spots on the schedule, and I've had a couple of email inquiries. As soon as I finalize those, I'll be announcing those. Heroes will be my big con this year. Usually it's Baltimore Comic Con. But because of a variety of reasons, I'm missing Baltimore this year, and so I'll be doubling down on Heroes. Dragon Con I will be at. I'll be happy to sign books. I'll probably be bringing some books with me. And I will be arranging an off-site meet and greet, probably at a hotel or restaurant somewhere in the downtown Atlanta region. And if y'all just want to come by and get a book signed, get a picture taken, talk with me, tease me for spoilers, which I almost never release, then that I'll publicize exactly when and where that will be. We'll probably also be doing another AMA from DragonCon. And hopefully I'll be able to share many more tidbits about the upcoming schedule at that point.
Sounds good. Any follow-up questions on cons, Craig?
Nope, that one just happened to be in the chat earlier this week.
No worries. And are you able to drop any? You've been doing a lot of prep work, I understand, on the cons. Are you able to share any of the efforts that have been going into the?
Well, I'm pretty basically a lot of it is basic stuff, but I am updating my signage. I'm getting some Golden Goblin signage out there. I am designing new cards, and hopefully we'll have new T-shirts at that point. And hopefully the art that I want to use on the T-shirt will be finalized by then. I saw in the chat someone was asking about the fantasy role-playing game, and I did want to assure everybody it's still coming. The art's about 75% done. We're just waiting for that last 25%, and we should be able to move forward. I don't have a release date yet. Art's one of those things where you find someone who's good and you try to get in their schedule, and you're kind of at the mercy of their schedule and your schedule to see where it comes out. Deadlines are great, and I love them, and I've set them. But real life happens to everybody, and it seems to happen to artists more than it happens to a lot of other people. So I've dealt with professional artists for years, and that's just the game that you got. But it is drawing to a conclusion. The pieces I've seen so far for the game have been outstanding. I will be probably using a lot of that art in other promotional things. But I'll keep everybody posted. Believe me, I want to get this game out desperately at this point. We've been laboring on it, and props to Dave the Arcanist, who has been working, doing a lot of work, and has done a lot of work to get this project to a conclusion. And I'm very grateful for that. But that's about all I have on that. So I guess we can move on to some questions.
Definitely, yeah. Battlefield have been busy in the background, so it's good. So lore question. Let's test your knowledge, Terry. What is the current colonial year on Calador as a practical adept?
Tough
one.
as a practical adapt, I'd have to go back and count precisely, I don't have it directly in front of me, but I think it's around. And I figured this out for something not too long ago, but I think by practical adept, we're looking at, I want to say, year 739 since the colonial charter. Which is the date that they used to establish the beginning of the new Caledoran calendar. Now, that doesn't mean that humanity wasn't here before that, but that's when they started the calendar from, and so most of the dates are listed either before or after that date. There was about 20 so years worth of exploration and initial terraforming that had to go on, that happened before the official establishment of the colony. I believe it's year 739 is what I came up with.
I'm just making a note. Cool. So that's a good question. Well done. Caraboy would like to ask, what genres are you interested in trying next, now that romantasy is checked off the list?
Oh, good God. Hopefully nothing with vampires. My wife is a fan of contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy, that sort of thing, which I just find terribly tawdry. But looking at other genres, I love the hard sci-fi genre. If you are familiar with some of my other works, I've written in the H. Beam Piper Tarot Human Future History with my sequels to Space Viking. So I love sci-fi. I'm sure everybody's figured that out. I've done my one time travel novel, and there's an old adage that unless you're a masochist, you only do one time travel novel. It's pretty hard. But I'm open, and especially as we see new subgenres open up. I think some of these genres I'll be able to tackle within the Spellmonger series. For example, I'd love to do essentially a detective story. That not to get all name of the rose, but I think there's a lot of good detective stories available in Spellmonger. And I apologize for my camera, y'all. I'm really it's freaking me out, but hopefully you can at least still hear me while it's flickering. And then a good spy story, straight up thriller novel, I think would be, kind of Tolkien meets Tom Clancy. I think would be a lot of fun. But I'm open, and I think you'll see my interest in other genres peek through my Spellmonger writing, as it does in general. I don't know if I could do a Western exactly, but something Western-esque I think might be fun at some point too. And that kind of goes along with my my plans for the series. One of the things that as much as y'all love the main series novels, and I do too, I love telling that story. But I also really appreciate going off in these other directions with these other characters, the side novels that some people get upset that I'm not focused more on the main series and I'm doing these side novels. But I see them as kind of necessary, and writing them concurrently with the main series, that gives me a lot of opportunities to play with characters and stories that really don't belong with the main series, but are certainly complementary to the main series. So I'm open to genre, and I've written just about everything. I'd be happy to try something really weird, and may yet. I think Mad Mage was probably the closest I've gotten to real weirdness, but I got more weird in me too. So we'll see how that works out. And I've always been a big of cosmic fantasy too. So some of the future novels may tinge over to the whole Clark Ashton Smith Necronomicon sort of mood too. That's just, I think, something that works really well with the universe I've set up, and adding a little tinge of that to the rest of the story, I think will go over well and work well with the series.
But no undent paren check, right? No, we're having a chat
Next question.
No spoilers, Manji. Sorry, there is a question.
Are any of the characters you write about based on family members?
Yes, I do have a couple of characters that are based on family members. Both Dara and Allura are based on my daughter at various points in her life. Allura's the more recent version, and I invite you to draw whatever conclusions about that you wish. But beyond that, Kendall and Rondell were kind of based on my boys, Owen and Hayden, and to a certain extent they still are, although they're probably a little tougher, braver, and more inclined to hard work than my boys are. And I'll also say that Ruderall is based loosely on Hayden, because he came up with the original character. But I think that Ruderall has kind of developed his own life beyond Hayden, and his own character. And other Menelon's father, based loosely on my father, just the relationship that we had. Very no nonsense, practical, but also very wise voice in my head. And I can think of at least 3 characters that my wife has heavily influenced. That would be Alia, of course, Pentandra, and Lelastian, the 3 strongest female characters in my novel. My novels are definitely influenced by my wife, Lauren. So, and probably in other places, my brothers, I've used them as a template for a character, depending on if I needed somebody practical or someone shady. I'm not going to mention which one goes which brother. But in general, a good writer will steal character notes from whomever is in their proximity because it's easy. And usually the people in our lives have more character than we give them credit for. So you don't have to tell them about it, though, which I think is important. Like, you don't want to tell someone, oh, I based a character on you. Because A, they're probably not going to read your book. That's the other thing. If you're a writer, don't expect your family to read your book. I think Owen and Hayden are the only 2 members of my family that have really read beyond the first couple. But Owen having read the most at this point, and is almost caught up with the series. But yeah, for some reason, a writer's family, they can be horribly supportive, but they don't usually read your stuff, which I think is a mixed blessing. There are some things in there I'm not necessarily sure I want them to read. So, because they'll go, hey, you stole that from me. And yeah, I did. I kind of did.
You should have been nicer to me. That is a line I can't wait to say to someone in the future.
So doesn't your wife also like tell us not to ask too many spoilery questions as well? How does she know if she didn't read them?
Well, because she sees the look on my face and realizes just because she doesn't read them doesn't mean that she isn't here while I'm writing them. So I'll discuss major significant events or even minor scenes with her if I want her feedback, or if I just want to slap my ego around a little bit. If I write something I think is particularly clever, I'll bring up to her, and I'll discuss long-term character plots and things like that. So she knows some of the things that are still lurking out there, waiting to spring into the main storyline. And that's what she's most concerned about. Like when I start talking about the Valley people, or that sort of thing. That's when she knows I'm edging into
just
dangerous
on the
territory.
Valley people, then. Very interesting.
Hey,
No.
I can tell you
I'll
for
come
a
back to
fact,
this.
she's got a mean right hook.
No, she does. She has sharp and pointy elbows. I will
Yes.
be happy to attest to that.
She got to
Sounds
be good
good.
at dragging.
So, from True Dietor, is there an equivalent to Irianite for the gods? Dum dum dum.
Not exactly Irianite. And we'll get into this a little bit in Theurge as we explore the magic of the gods more specifically. Irianite is more of a thaumaturgical tool. There's a kind of theurgic equivalent, but it doesn't do exactly the same thing. It's also almost impossible to make, which means that Min's going to try it. And that will, of course, hilarity will ensue, as they say. Uh, you get to a certain point where your character becomes so powerful that only the gods can challenge him, or provide the aspiration that he needs to become even more powerful. And Min's going to realize probably that messing around with the gods is not something a wizard should do lightly, if at all. But we'll be exploring that a lot more in Theurge. I've set up several different storylines that will converge on that point, and we will learn more about the nature of the gods and the limitations that are on the gods. And try to figure out where they came from, because it's kind of one of those things that just evolved as humanity got access to their Regira, and the collective subconscious of the gods, of humanity, started producing the gods, and Lelastian was there, so we have a first-person account of some of the earliest things, and we'll probably be relying on her for explanations of, to the extent that they can be made, how the gods work, so to speak.
Sounds good. So we've got one from Tender Sir. Hello, Tender Sir. When is the next interview / conversation with John Lee? He's really brought this series to life for me and many of us. Tender Sir.
Yeah, I agree. And the honest fact is, it might be a while, because thanks to Spellmonger and his other work, he has a really large fan base, and his calendar is so thickly. I get priority because we've got a history. But if you're a new author trying to get John Lee, it's almost impossible. I mean, the man gets booked up. That's why they had me establish a due date for Theurge so far in advance, simply that they could book time with John Lee. And that really is what is dictating when my deadlines are now. I'm going to try to do it for book 20 at the very latest, if I can't get it done beforehand. But I'm hoping that we can impose on him for the big celebration of book 20. That we can get him back on and have another conversation about. He'll probably be sick to death of Spellmonger by then, I have no doubt. But it's a paycheck, so hopefully he'll be willing to come on and answer more questions. I will definitely bring that up with Podium and see what we can arrange.
It is very weird whenever you're used to listening to John Lee for Spellmonger and you pick up one of his other works.
Go on then, Craig. Next question.
Yeah, it's just he loves you for your Welsh and Celtic words.
And then just to bring it back to the Golden Goblin, he may hate my guts after this. Most of the Goblin words that, and there are quite a few in the book, I picked a language that sounds really harsh to the English-speaking ear, and that's Bulgarian. So a lot of the Goblin words are based on Bulgarian words that are extremely harsh but sound really authentically. I think if if you want to be mean, Bulgarian is a great language to be mean in, just like Russian's a great language to be paranoid in, and English is a great language to be polite in.
Okay, Maddie Prime asks, will we ever learn what caused the fall of the Orions and the Lyrans and humanity's true origin? I'm dying to know more on the early in-universe lore.
Okay. We will learn some of that a little bit later in the series, but a lot of it is going to remain a mystery because that brings us back to the kind of cosmic horror sort of thing. And I knew what I was doing when I introduced those particular races to the lore, and I have a decided map in my head of how those two races in particular are going to play out as part of humanity's backstory. I prowl the corners of the internet for a lot of obscure lore about a lot of things, and I think some of that has bled over into Spellmonger. People familiar with UFOs, ufology, and that sort of thing may identify the Lyrans and the Orions. I'm not saying I stole them completely from that, but that was kind of a basis. We will be discussing later on in the series what happened to humanity post-contact and why a significant number of people wanted to flee Earth. And a lot of it has to do with that post-contact, the results of alien contact with humanity and the revelation of our true origins. That should make you want it even more, and I'll be discussing it in depth to an extent, but we're not going to get all the answers simply because we're looking at far too vast a time span. But I'll try to work it in there to at least a level of satisfaction for those of you who are interested.
Yeah, most of us. So I'm King. I'm Knig. That's a word. One. When will we see the conflict with the thing that is on its way to Sevendor that started heading there when the CM was awakened?
The short answer to that is when you least expect it, and that's on purpose. Yes, I put that pistol on the mantelpiece for a reason, and when it happens, everybody will finally get the resolution that they want over that. But yeah, I really did put it in there for a when you least expect it sort of moment.
Okay, next question. True Dietor asks, are there any parent check left? And if so, has anyone tried using transgenics on them to make them bigger?
I can just say
no.
That's dead.
Oh, come on, Nancy, you love spiders.
Hell no.
Here's the thing about the Paranchek. Yes, there are Paranchek left. There are some left in the Black Veil. There are some left in Olam Sahari. There are some left in Darkfaller. They're kind of an insidious race in a lot of ways. If they can get a couple of eggs in a remote location and find a way to survive, they will certainly do that. The thing is about the Paranchek, though, is that we're just seeing their early stage form. When this is the first time that the Paranchek as a race have been exposed to essentially a magical environment, and no one knows how their Rajira is going to manifest. And when it does, other people aren't going to be telling them what to do as much anymore, and they're going to become far more independent and far more powerful. And that be done in a lot of different ways. I'm brainstorming a couple of particularly horrific ideas, I thought the entire city of Castabriel covered with Paranchek was creepy enough, but now I want to make it creepier. I think we can go bigger.
Well, the follow-up question
So
on that fits what you're saying, Maddie Prime asks, allow me to remind you of my wonderful idea from years ago of undead Paranchek.
that might be coming. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to come up with the creepiest way possible of and see, they're not the only creepy buggy things in town. As again, no spoilers, but there's some dark stuff in the Golden Goblin. And some very creepy stuff in the Golden Goblin that give the Paranchek a run for their money.
Sounds good. Token Law asks, how much has Alia's body changed due to the Handmaiden?
Less from the handmaiden and more from childbirth. She's had 4 kids. That has an effect on a woman. And even though she's got a fairly healthy lifestyle, 4 kids. But it's not so much her body, but her mind that the handmaiden has had an effect on. She has basically the handmaiden has kind of acted as a mental splint as she has gotten her consciousness back and her self-awareness and her sense of self. And I think that had she continued doing that, she would have been far more affected. But because she left the effects of the handmaiden when she went to Angskabel, she had a chance to kind of heal a little more naturally on her own, which brought her more back to a basic human perspective. And a little less affected by the handmaiden. Now, that being said, there's still a lot of stuff, a lot of, I guess, stitches left in her mind from the handmaiden that will linger there for a long time. And we'll see that manifest again when we least expect it. And just to finally set, I keep getting questions about laughing at spoons. And everybody wanting to know why she laughs so uproariously at spoons. From a Vundel perspective, how you deal with liquids and gases is very different than how people on dry land deal with liquids and gases. And when she realized that humanity had an entire piece of technology just to deliver liquids to their mouth, she thought it was absolutely hysterical. It would be like seeing someone use bubbles to breathe with or something like that. And so it just struck her as funny, something so basic. And why she's got a weird relation with fire. Fire is not something that the Vundel are overly familiar with. And it's hard to maintain a plasma when you're underwater. So she's got some definite scars from the handmaiden being there, but I'd say she's probably 75% to 80% healed at this point, and certainly in control of her basic faculties, most of her memories and that sort of thing. But definitely, there's been an effect.
Well, let me throw a question in here. Alex the Arcanist. Do the sport talents grow or evolve as the user uses it or understand the ability better?
I think the short answer is yes. The long answer is it really depends on the talent and the individual involved. For some things, I think that the mage would be able to, over time and with experience, find nuance and ways of using their sport talent in new and creative ways, or in more precise ways to improve their ability. But in general, I try to kind of, if you have a sport talent, with a few exceptions, it kind of caps out in terms of what you can do with it. and how much you can develop it over time. Again, with some people, I think over the course of their lifetime, they may find their Regira either grow or shrink. Depending on their a lot of different factors. So there's a lot of wiggle room there. But that being said, usually the sport talent you get is more or less what you get stuck with. Now, something like Jonick, the Reish, and his particular sport talent, that's a little more open ended and may have consequences beyond the ordinary expectations of it because of the nature of his sport talent. I won't spoil precisely what that is if you haven't caught up with the series yet. But it's a pretty bold one. Again, something that Hayden came up with, and I took and ran with it. But in general, if you're really good at dowsing, you're just going to be really good at dowsing.
Sounds good. Silverleaf, the main question I have is any inspirations you had or series that you really enjoy to recommend? I always need more.
You froze, Dave.
Yeah, Dave froze.
Dave is frozen.
Okay, I think I can. I think I can go ahead and answer that question though. Series that I took inspiration from is one very prominent one is the Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny, which I think is one of the better epic fantasy series out there. If you haven't read it, highly encourage it, especially the first series of books. And then beyond that, I would also recommend Stephen Bruce's Jerrig series. Of course, Tolkien was a huge inspiration for me, but the Jerrig series was where I saw an author take a character and tell a first-person story. Same thing with Chronicles of Amber. Take a character and tell a first-person story that was personally there was a lot more emphasis on the personal character development of the main character than there was just the stuff in the background. But I've been influenced by a number of other series, both fantasy and non-fantasy, a lot of sci-fi, a lot of nonfiction or historical fiction that has I picked up over the years. But yeah, so Lasney definitely read everything he ever wrote. The man was brilliant. But things like The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester, one of the best sci-fi novels ever written. And it starts out really kind of weak in my opinion, but grows to one of the most impactful sci-fi novels out there. But you know, I basically could point back at 20 or 30 different authors and series over the years that I've blatantly stolen things from, and I'm happy to continue doing that.
Okay, next question.
All right,
from Tolkien Law.
There we go.
Dave, are you back?
I think I'm back. Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yes.
I've gone cameraless just to be safe.
Okay, let me get one question, and you can go next. By the end of Practical Adopt, has Minolin already put up similar magic defenses for Faris as he did with Sevendor?
He will be, and you'll see this in Sea Mage. He is erecting a whole different series of magical defenses for Faris because of the kind of unique geography and environment of Faris. He has to have a much more maritime mindset and thinking about the defense of Faris, and that's really out of his wheelhouse, so to speak. He has only been to sea a couple of times, and he wasn't real happy with that. There's a whole different. It's difficult to take someone who's been trained to fight on land and throw them on a boat and expect them to know what the hell they're doing. My father was in the Navy, and he had lots to say about the Army troops that his ship ferried to shore. And there was a certain disdain, and always has been, between the Army and the Navy over which is a tougher fight, and honestly, it's just a whole different type of warfare. With and in this case, we are looking at not just maritime warfare, but maritime warfare without cannon. Not saying that there isn't other artillery at play, but we're not going to have roaring cannons the way that you might expect something from the Age of Sail. But you also have, which I think will have a dramatic influence on how the battles play out, and so how the defenses are going to be constructed. We will be seeing a lot more of it from in Sea Mage, and I guarantee you, looking forward to that and doing.
Terry, we lost you.
Yeah, you went green screen and then quiet.
Yep.
Okay. Give me just a moment.
No problem.
We can hear you, Terry. You can keep talking. We just can't see you.
Okay.
Let the man focus.
There we go. Had to reboot my camera for some reason.
Sid said
But
you've been startling.
we'll be seeing. That could be actually. But we'll be seeing a lot more of Midland's magical defense, and especially with some of the characters. Again, not trying to spoil anyone who hasn't read the last book, but we'll be seeing some of the prominent characters that were introduced in that book take a role in the defense of Paris, including some unexpected ones.
Sounds exciting. Good. So, quick question from Token Law. Theoretically, can Ruderall interact with Enneagrams in a small way, like advanced blue magic?
Yes, if he has the proper tools. And I've already considered that. Here's the thing about Ruderall and why I love Rudy as a character. Because he has seen everybody's naked face, I guess you could say, their enneagrams, which are basically reflections of their self-awareness. He knows when you're lying. He knows when you're being deceitful. He knows when you're being insincere. So he's very skeptical and kind of jaded about human emotions in general. But he's also very he'd be very hesitant about trying to alter anybody's particular Enneagram, for the simple fact that he has a really healthy respect for personal agency. He is not someone who has a desire to control simply because he's been the one being controlled for so long. And he's very hesitant about exercising that kind of that kind of agency on somebody else. So it would take a very special situation for him to consider doing that. That doesn't mean that one won't arise, because when you're a wizard, you get challenged, and being put in difficult moral and ethical situations is part of the trade, and making those decisions is reflection of your personal character. Let's just say that Tyndall and Rondell, a lot less restrained. If they had power like at that level, you might see a little more manipulation. But Rudy's just not that guy. He's an observer, or considers himself an observer first and foremost.
Okay.
And I think he would be hesitant to.
Question from Jeff.
Go ahead, Greg.
I've wanted a Caswallon and Landrick buddy cop novel for years. Imagine them operating out of Faris with the censor from Practical Adept as their captain.
I've considered that. That's actually I really like the Landrick character. He was originally based on a friend of mine from the Society for Creative Anachronism, also named Landrick. But he's kind of grown into his own character over time. And yeah, Caswallen as a sidekick. Again, it's a sort of thing where it would have to depend on the situation, but for the right situation, yeah, he would go with Caswallen.
You were saying you want to do a detective novel.
If I can come up,
I mean, those two together would be hilarious.
right, exactly. Landrick is right. One is good at detecting, and the other's good at kicking down doors. So there may arise, and I've actually got a plot that intersects with the main plot that I think would be a good venue for that. So let me continue to percolate on that, and maybe I can come up with something good. In addition to an Olmec story, I've gotten so many requests for another Olmec story, and I'd be very happy to be able to do something if I can make it wholesome enough. That's the thing with Olmec, you got some wholesomeness in there. He's kind of a crunchy hippie guy, but he's also wise and very practical about some things. So if I get the right story for Olmec, I won't hesitate to pull the trigger on that.
Well, there is a request in here to. Oh, sorry. I was just saying there is a request in here for him to meet the Metzger-Kinzer.
Yes, and that sort of thing is definitely going to happen. It may even happen in Sea Mage. I'm still playing around with that. I've got a lot going on in Sea Mage. It's not one of those books where you're going to be bored by detail. There's well, maybe the first 10 chapters, but after that, there's a lot of action. And you won't be bored by detail in the first 10 chapters. There's just a lot of lead up to where the action gets to as I position people in the right places.
Yeah. So from Foxy Lady, was the root crop of Faris inspired by a real plant? Thinking of skirret, which was a staple in Europe prior to the arrival of potatoes.
Yeah, breadfruit, potatoes. It's kind of an amalgam of a couple of starchy vegetables, tapioca, that sort of thing. Only I wanted to make something that was very easy to cultivate, had a lot of nutrition, and required very little in terms of additional agricultural inputs, fertilizers, or that sort of thing. I was designing a plant that, if you have a pot to piss in, you can plant Porsago. I've had a lot of interesting questions about Porsago, but unfortunately, it doesn't exist in this world. But it's one of a number of fascinating foodstuffs that do exist on Calidor. Wait till I start talking about bream. And no, I'm not going to explain that any longer, but I've written 4 pages on what bream is and why it's important. So,
next question is from Maddie Prime. Are we going to see any more traditional Lovecraftian entities like the Yith and the Formless in the future, or one of your very own creation? Either way, I love the blend and direction of the story.
Excellent. Yeah, we will have. There will be at least one other Lovecraftian critter included, and maybe more. And I do have my own Lovecraftian sort of horrors in store, as you will see in the Golden Goblin. There are some, like I said, some really creepy things in there, and in some ways, they're just the precursors to something even more creepy. So. And getting that real cosmic horror existential vibe going, I think, provides an intriguing background to the entire series. It's not just, hey, we killed Sauron and everybody's Hobbit happy now. I think having that lingering, all existence is futile sort of perspective in the background gives the efforts of my characters that much more poignancy as they struggle in a universe that's destined to destroy them.
Great stuff. Okay, so we've got a question from Cruise Control 12. I'm going to go if that's how you say that name. Could you make a magical artifact with thaumaturgic glass from Snowstone / Snowstand combined with enchantments to create a more powerful Snowstone-like effect that would help grow the golden coral the Vundel care about? This is a very detailed question. Transforming mountains for harvesting seems inefficient.
Short answer, yeah, probably. Especially with the types of magic that Menelin is privy to. That may not be his direct approach, though. Just to warn you, although he'll play around with that essential idea, it's going to be a lot more developed than that when he starts enchanting at that level. The first question is basically all of that will be put into context by his plan to save the world and what each of the different races of Calidor will have to contribute to that effort in order for it to be successful. And there's something essential from each of the 5 major races on Calidor that they're going to have to contribute basically. And in some ways, it's going to be hopelessly tragic, and in some ways, it's going to be the salvation that the Vundel have always been looking for. I think all of the major races are going to be affected by this effort, some more than others. But it's going to change when he does essentially announce his plan and starts working in earnest on it. It's going to change the perspective of every race on Calidor in ways that they just didn't expect. So, but that sort of enchantment, we'll be seeing a lot more of that. And it's not just the snow sand and the Erionite. He'll also be working some ghost rock and some blue stone into that as well. Especially the ghost rock is in its way even more potent than Erionite or snowstone. Maybe not at the elemental level, but in terms of practical thaumaturgy. And yes, my camera cracked out. Hold on,
Terry, I'm willing to buy you a camera. I've
We're
told
good.
you that.
I'm going to ask a risque question, and Terry, feel free to say "shut up, Dave," and ask the next one. But like, you mentioned the 5 major races of Calidor, and I just wanted to ask: we've got the Humani, we've got the Alon, if you count them as a race, and then we've got the Metzakinsa, and then the Sea Folk. What's the 5th one?
That's the lost, what's known as the lost races. Those are remnants of races that the Vundel invited in the past. Most of them are aquatic.
But the lizard people
Right, the lizard people are a good example, but they're not the only example. The Vundel early on in their kind of celestial career invited a couple of different races to send emissaries, small colonies, that sort of thing. But they mostly focused on aquatic races, so they're known as the lost races of Calidor. But the Vundel have a sort of sense of fairness and completeness where they want the lost races to be represented in the Great Councils. And there is one lost race in particular that Menelin has learned about that he feels can be helpful to the effort.
Oh my god, my computer totally crashed at that question. Great. Never mind. I'm sure I'll catch up.
Okay. From DG Moonwalker, also with old knowledge coming out, will old human foods come out? Say what happens when pizza is reintroduced.
Actually, there's a version of pizza that's already available on Calidor. And again, I apologize for my camera. I can't get it to pop back on just yet. But because the Romans, ancient Romans, had essentially a version of pizza, although they put really horrible things on it. And throughout the Middle Ages, there was a couple of different versions of cheesy flatbread with various fruits and vegetables on it that were popular. I did some research on that back in the Society for Creative Anachronism days. Pizza's not the big one. The big one is coffee. Coffee's hard to produce, and it's only produced in a couple of places on Calidor, and mostly for local consumption. Sugar's a little bit easier. That's already there. Chocolate, again, there are only a couple of places that can produce cocoa on Calidor, and again, for example, the Unstarans can grow cocoa in their climate. But there will be, especially as we get more characters who were familiar with the colonial days and have specific requests, for example, for coffee. We'll see more exploration of that. But Caladoran tastes have changed a bit because of the diet that they're used to. So expect to see some culinary duking it out between the old and the new. But that's a topic I'm happy to explore.
We're gonna see a cookbook.
Yes, we are. Are you kidding? I've been working on one for years, and every new book brings me a couple new recipes. It'll be. Usually you don't have an author for a cookbook like this, or a character for a cookbook, but the cookbook will be the result of Larisk, Menelon's newest apprentice, his explorations, and I'll just leave it at that.
Sounds good. Can I do a time check, Terry? We have been going for just over an hour, so I don't know if you needed a quick break or how long have you got for this evening?
Well, I'm good. I've got. I can go to 6:30 at least. There I am again. Yay! I can go to 6:30.
Sounds good. Okay, cool. Craig, are you all right to do the next question just while my computer catches up?
Okay, I'm looking through them. A lot of questions on different authors. Will Min's relationship with Ruderall change after Freeze? Or Rod?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. If you notice, his relationship with all of his apprentices changes after they take their examination, and that's even though he still maintains a very close relationship with them. There's a difference. He acknowledges them as a fellow in the craft, as opposed to a student. He really tries not to take a condescending attitude towards them after they've proven themselves. In some ways, Min's kind of a credential whore. He has more natural respect for the wizards who have gotten their certification. Probably because he worked so hard to get his own. But also as the administrator of magic in the kingdom, he's come to appreciate the importance of credentialing. And that kind of comes up in the Golden Goblin at one point. And the power of the ducal court magi to regulate magic is also mentioned.
I think I misread that question, though. I think he's meaning king.
Okay.
The king.
Rard is okay. Another great question. Yes, it is going to change. It's going to become very convoluted. If I had to pick a theme for Sea Mage, it might be the wizard as deceiver. We've looked at the wizard archetype through a lot of different lenses over the course of the series, enjoying each and every one. But one that doesn't get talked about much is the wizard as a deceiver. And if you go back and look through all of the great stories featuring wizards, at one point or another, the wizard either tells a blatant lie or only tells enough of the truth to get the effect that he's looking for. And while Min tends to be a fairly honest fellow, he also understands that part of being the man with the knowledge is using that knowledge to manipulate. And in the case of Rard, he at least begins the book with maintaining the fiction that he and the new Doge of Faris are two different people. And that's one of the basic deceptions that he pulls, at least for a while. And I think we're going to see kind of the interior workings of Min's mind as he justifies doing this essentially dishonest thing to himself, again, doing it for the greater good towards a larger goal. And at this point in his career,
doesn't that make him the equal of the king?
That's an interesting question. Is the leader of is the head of state of Luxembourg the equal of the head of state of China? They're both heads of state. They both embody sovereign authority. Well, that's the thing. It all depends on how you look at it. And I'm borrowing some inspiration actually from how William the Conqueror and the King of France worked their stuff out. When William became King of England, he was still a French vassal. Middleton's still a vassal of Rard, and that hasn't changed, but Middleton's elevated position is going to have an effect on their relationship. There's no doubt. And Middleton's going to try to manipulate that relationship ends, and is going to have to do it unapologetically. Which is going to make him come across as very arrogant, and make a lot of people resent him. So that's on the horizon for this book, and that relationship will be addressed. And Min will basically have to kind of put Rard in his place, and Rard's going to try to put Min in his place, and with all the new factors and new characters happening in that context, it's going to be a rough relationship for a while.
Okay, question from, and I'm mangling this name, Sasyas. You've mentioned to expect some romance in the Dara. Will you continue that flavor when you write about his newfound daughter and Ederpol?
Yes, the relationship with Lamari and Adipole. Again, this is a little spoilery for those who haven't finished the last book. But that's going to be something Min's going to be observing very carefully. And I think he properly threatened Adipole at the end of the last book. So he's going to be proceeding cautiously. But that being said, he also knows that you can't stop love in young people. That's just trying to control that situation is going to be beyond his abilities as a mage or a father. But it's going to be a learning experience with him too. He suddenly has a teenage daughter he has to worry about, and that's a terrible thing for a man to have to deal with, especially unexpectedly.
Has he dug that
Pardon?
Did he dig that fourth hole?
What was that, Craig?
did he dig the fourth hole?
Actually, yeah, he makes a he makes a there'll be a scene in which that comes up. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Dave, are you back? You want me to keep going? I guess I'll keep going. Sticky bee syrup. Got a question. What is Regira in general? Some people have more, some have less, but what does it actually mean in practice? Can they hold more power at once? Can they use more types and octaves of magic, etc.?
Okay. Think of Regira as your body's ability to detect and consciously manipulate magical force, thaumaturgic force. And there's a fair amount of your subconscious that's involved in that. And sometimes basically everybody gets a portion of Regira. It gets some, just like everybody can, or most people can hear sounds, hear music, but not everybody has perfect pitch. Think about most people's relation to magic being more of an observer, like you're listening to music. Regira gives you the ability to play music, to use a sort of Alka Alan metaphor. But not everybody is as good at it as others. Some people are better at rhythm. Some people are better at harmony, at melody, and a lot of that's determined by basically what you rolled when you were born, or when you hit puberty. It's a almost random, not quite. There's a genetic component to it, certainly. There's also a environmental component to it. For example, Tyndall and Rondell probably have slightly more, or at least better, access to their Regira because they were born and raised within spitting distance of the Molopar, which is going to warp the quantum field effect that allows magic to happen, and make some people a little more susceptible or a little more talented than normal. Same thing with all the kids being raised in Seven Door right now, and now in Vanador, who are exposed to Snowstone. That also has an effect. And of course, the being in the event horizon of a Snowstone spell basically accelerates any latent Regira that you had to a much higher degree. At this point, all those effects seem permanent. But again, that's the sort of thing that's going to change with over time with age and experience. So, great question. I just wish I had a more an easier answer. Regira is one of those things that I think every fantasy author has to decide what the rules of magic are, and how they're expressed. And Regira was my way to do that.
Okay, a question from DG Moonwalker. Is there whiskey or bourbon on Calidor? I'm a bourbon man personally, but we see all sorts of wine and some hard ciders, but I don't recall any bourbon or whiskey.
Oh, there is whiskey. Don't forget that there's actually a god of distilling, Pram the Blessed, who originally was the name of a whiskey distillery in the Coolines that became very popular. It was adopted as a strong beverage of choice by both the Valley people and a number of the surrounding tribes and settlers. When civilization fell, almost as a joke, Pram the Blessed was Pram the distillery was elevated to godhood by people who remember how good it was. And in the Golden Goblin, there's an explicit reference to whiskey. I have to go back and make sure I spelled it correctly. I've been taken to task by my Scottish fans about how I've spelled whiskey in the past, so I'll have to take the E out if I left it in. But yes, there is whiskey. There's probably bourbon as well, although not under that name. Because officially you can't make bourbon outside of Kentucky and have it be called bourbon. So there's that. Just like champagne, I haven't mentioned champagne, even though I mentioned sparkling wine on at least one occasion, I believe. So yes, there's whiskey, there's bourbon, there's vodka. There are liqueurs that you've never heard of before because they're made with plants and grains that are not native to our planet.
Okay, next question from 2 Dietor, if I got that right. And I'm going to change the question a little bit. How will Tavard react to Midland becoming his social superior?
Well, there's going to be a little resentment there. Not going to lie. And that's only going to be tempered by how Men handles the impending Merwini invasion of Faris, and how that plays out. Basically, Tavard is going to be constrained by Rard and Grandine, simply because Minlin is going to present his conquest of Faris as a fait accompli, and there's not going to be a whole lot he can do about it without dramatically upsetting the political order in the kingdom. But that doesn't mean it's not going to have long-term ramifications and effects. That's going to be a really fun ball of yarn to get into when we get there.
There was a question
with everything that happens. A lot of people's resentment.
Yeah. Well, we're also waiting for the emissary. We're also
Go ahead,
waiting
Greg.
for other things. There was a question earlier this week on Facebook. A person was asking how the Alcalon appeared at the king's coronation, since there's no waypoint there.
There's a waypoint. There is a waypoint in Castabriel. Don't forget.
It's in the bottom of
it's in the basement of a. Right. But that's not the. They essentially came in through a nearby waypoint, as opposed to the one in the city. As a matter of fact, we haven't gotten into it in any detail. But the whole history of Castabriel as an Alcalon city is kind of cursed. And so, from the Alcalon perspective, having humanity base one of their capitals in this city is just a little sus, as the kids say. And so they're naturally hesitant about coming directly to Castabriel, but there are close enough waypoints where they could get there and then essentially walk or run the rest of the way.
Okay. Darth Mintos is asking, where did the Alcalon come from before Alaniel? However you pronounce that. Alcalon traveled there.
Good question. Right. Alaniral was not the Alcalon's original home, just as in lore I postulate that Earth is not humanity's original home. I kind of doubled down on the whole panspermia idea, and then threw a lot of I guess uplifting would be one way to put it, if you're familiar with David Brenn's Uplift series, which deals, it's a great far future space opera that talks about humanity's emergence into galactic civilization. And one of the things that you kind of realize from it is that a lot of the races that we are dealing with are actually descendants of other races from other worlds that have spread quietly from one planet to another. And that's my basic idea, that life will spread out into whatever nook or cranny it can find to sustain itself with. which is a fascinating idea, but also produces a lot of potential for divergence from the original line and manipulation by either well-meaning or poorly meaning more powerful alien species. And that sort of thing has happened, I think, to every race except for the very earliest ones. And even then, you get some serious manipulation pretty early on. So that's the basic question. Basic answer is that the Elan, like humanity, were developed over time, and it was really the point at which they took over their own development that they could be seen as kind of a race that's come of age in a sense.
Okay, next question from Token Law. Is there a limited distance for the mind-to-mind communication spell?
No, there is not, surprisingly. That's one of those spells that is essentially based on the quantum tunneling effect and belies time and space. It's different from how the waypoints work, but you should be able to, barring interference, and there are ways to interfere with that, but barring interference, you should be able to communicate mind to mind as long as the other person is willing and makes the decision to pick up the phone, so to speak. You should be able to do that regardless of where you are, as long as you have enough Erionite to power the spell.
Okay, next question, also from Token Law. Are there any natural waypoints on the moon?
Perhaps, but you can't get there because waypoints only have a 750 mile-ish range. You couldn't do a direct transfer from the moon to Calidor through the ways. That doesn't mean you can't do it through other methods, but at this point, Midland really is on the bleeding edge of dimensional magic. So pretty much he could do it. Maybe the Vundel could do it. Maybe the Mexicans could do it. But the Vundel and the Mexicans have very little use for the moon and probably not a lot of ambitions to reach it.
Well, they somehow had to come down from their moon, right?
Oh, yes, they did. And wait till you see that scene. They didn't use ships. I'm just going to say that.
Okay.
We have another question, but Terry, you're at time check is 6:21. Just so you're aware. So True Dictator said Calidor seems to be a magnet for various races. Are we going to see a new race try to establish itself on Calidor? Besides spiders.
Not a new not a new race, but again, when you're talking about the lost races, you're talking about remnants, some of whom were very, very strong and advanced on their home worlds, their original worlds, and they. There are some of those, and inclusive of that are some of the vassals of the Formless, who have aspirations for world domination, basically, or at least political domination of Calidor. One of the things that Min is going to have to parse out as he kind of stitches together this confederacy of the great races is figuring out which of those lost races are being genuine in their support and which are being deceitful. And on top of that, I don't think people have given proper appreciation to the first answer that popped in my mind when that question was asked was yes, it's called humanity. Humanity is still essentially they've taken root. But there are elements of humanity who want to dominate in ways that would make the Formless proud, let's just say, and that's going to become a major factor in the third ecology.
I've often wondered if their distress call that they put out when they went through the whatever diverted them to Calidor has finally reached an Earth colony or Earth or Terra.
By the end of the series, you'll know the answer to that question.
Okay.
That's all I can
That's a
say.
great question, then. And answer. Are we ever going back to Angersville?
Yes, we will. Not in the way you might think, but yes, Anguspel is going to be vital to the plot moving forward. It's one of those places that, as an aberration, mental and wizards in general love using exceptions and aberrations because they're advantages. They can get things done using them, and Angskabel will be very important. We will be returning there within the next couple of books, at least briefly.
Okay, from DG Moonwalker. Did the Celestial Mothers colonize other worlds? Descendants exist out there, not in Calador.
Interesting question. And the answer is I don't know, but now I'm thinking about it. I don't think the Celestial Mothers would have colonized. That doesn't mean that some element of their civilization didn't colonize. You have to, we'll get into this in more detail in Sea Mage. But the Celestial Mothers were really kind of too big to move. They were so important to their underwater societies because they were literally mothers of all the subraces, or most of the subraces, that made up the Vundel. The present day Vundel are basically a self-sustaining remnant of that. But the Celestial Mothers were originally responsible for millions of births of all different kinds of creatures. Their biology is very different from ours in a lot of ways. And they were kind of a brood mother, but for multiple species. And in some of those cases, you would have some of these subspecies that would be able to replicate themselves, and some that were not. In the case of those who could replicate themselves, the possibility for colonization exists. But the Vundel are really, I hate to use the term, but insular. They see the oceans as the center of the planet, the dry lands as kind of the bits around the edges, and everything beyond that as interesting TV. The internet, basically, as they scan the cosmos, they're looking for similar races, but not necessarily to colonize or be colonized by. They just want to talk to people.
Okay, we got 4 minutes.
And of
left,
course, they
Terry, do you want to wrap up?
Talk to them. All right. Sure. First of all, I want to thank everybody who showed up, everybody who participated, especially the Garden Society. You guys rock. I'm very excited about this this next book. The Golden Goblin was a tremendous amount of fun to write. Especially after writing the Romantasy, which proved difficult in places, this one just shot out at me. It from start to finish, it was 6 weeks of kind of a grind, but a very exciting grind. I never started a chapter unenthusiastic, and from the reactions to my beta readers, I think it's going to hit all the spellmonger buttons that you have, and show you a couple that you didn't know you had. Introducing some very interesting characters, some amazingly important plot twists to the larger story, and some really intriguing revelations about characters that you think you know. Discover that you don't really know. We get a lot of interesting backstory for a number of different characters that are extremely important to the series. So I really look forward to it coming out. I'm anticipating what the reaction to the fans as a whole is going to be. I'm hoping to do more books like it. I specifically chose The Heart of Darkness to kind of base this book on, and so there's a lot of grand sweeping themes and even particular little details that are pulled directly from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, and an explicit discussion of colonialism. But that's a very complicated issue when it comes to Calidor. It's not nearly as cut and dried as it is for us. But it's a fascinating discussion, and I hope it inspires a lot of deep thought and on the subject by everybody who reads it. It's also funny as hell. I have to admit, there are parts in it that make me laugh. And I'm glad to be able to tell this story. This is one of those little stories that needed to be told, but really didn't fit with the main series. I'm glad I did it, and I look forward to it coming out.
Yeah, it was great to read, Terry, and it was worth the price of admission just to listen to Tin be a whiny bitch.
No, really good.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to everybody's reaction to this. But thanks everybody for coming. And Dave, if you have any housekeeping to wrap up, I know we're probably going to be doing this again before release at some point. But if you have anything further to add.
Absolutely, yeah. So huge thank you to everyone for coming this evening. Thanks to Terry for speaking. And this is the start of the countdown. So there will be more fan events happening in the coming weeks. Watch the Facebook, watch the news channel. We will be posting as we've got more updates and more dates to book in. Keep an eye out for the rules of the game for the fan competition and short story. Yeah, thanks everyone for a great evening and really great questions, and keep them coming and keep engaging. And obviously we've got some questions now about becoming beta readers, just getting engaged and getting involved and helping out on the wiki is normally a good route to
Yes.
to Terry's heart. So there you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes, I encourage anybody interested to help out with the wiki.
Absolutely. So
Our next
that
event,
leaves me
Dave.
to just wish everyone a really good night. Craig, I'll hand it over to you to say goodbye.
It's great to be here. Our next event is in 2 weeks, Dave?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we will continue
Sounds
this
good.
countdown bi-weekly until July 15th when the book comes out, and then we'll all be quiet for a little while everybody reads it.
For a little while.
Well, we can't spoil it
Yeah.
for everyone who's not able to put 24 hours into reading the whole book in one get-go. But great book.
What people?
It's only 30.
Yep. So thank you
People
for
are
being here.
people should be booking the time off work
Yeah.
or just planning to work around it. I mean, that's what I do.
I love Ron and Tin books. I love their interaction. I love how they solve problems, and so the book to me is just great. It's even better than Knight's Magi.
Excellent,
Wow.
excellent. An unsolicited testimonial.
There we go. All right, guys. Let's shut the stage down now.
All
We'll
right.
see everyone in a couple of weeks.
And I'm going to stop
Bye.
the recording.
All right. Bye.
Recording is done.